Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So alhamdulillah, the new year is up on us. They're going to look for the moon tonight. So if it's not spotted tonight, basically, if it's not spotted tonight, then we do one more day. So it's either going to be Thursday or Friday, the new year. Most likely Friday, the way they talking. But anyway, there's a couple of things, man, that I want to discuss coming into the new year. Two important things. Let me find a pen marker. One, protect your Islam. Right? Protect your Islam. I'm starting to hear a lot of Muslims starting to say stuff like I'm trying to protect my peace, or I'm going to be protecting my peace. And the things that they doing that they consider protecting their peace, it doesn't involve Islam. And some of the things that they doing to protect their peace actually contradict Islam. And it leads them to situations that's unfavorable in the deen. Right? So, one, you really have to learn how to protect your Islam. Some of the ways to really protect your Islam is people, places, and things. Right? People, places, and things. I know that people know it's on there. People, places, and things. One, who you're around. Right? The people that you frequent. Whether you go to their homes, whether they come to your home, whether y'all just talk on the phone. Right? These are some of the things where people fall off deen, lose iman. And see, I hate saying falling off deen, because to me, Allah is taking it from you. Allah will cause you to lose it. You're losing your deen, not falling off of it, right? Generally, the people we around, the people we talk to, these are some of the causes what cause people to fall off deen, or to have weak iman, really weak deen. And some of the places we go to, some of the environments that we be around. You know, are we doing things, are we going to places, and we know these things is, we're disobeying Allah. Some people take lightly disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal. They really do. And they don't understand how it affects their deen and their iman. So some of the places we going to, you know, things where they doing stuff, man, celebrating pagan stuff, man. Birthday parties, clubs, places where people is smoking and drinking and listening to haram music, right? And then things, the glitz, the glamours, the materials, you know, things that we wasting our money on, things that we doing the wrong things to, they're attracting our eye. And, you know, we may go work a bunch of overtime. We may go do some things in the streets. things that we doing because we want things that just look good to other people. And these things can lead to us neglecting our Islam. So like with people, but these things that we chasing, this material, we may feel like it's protecting our peace. Some of these people that we around, we may feel like they good company, and talking to them is part of protecting our peace, right? It make us feel better. Some of these places where we going and the things we doing with people, and may feel like we having fun, and we consider it to be protecting our peace, right? But we not protecting our Islam. So how can you protect your peace without protecting your Islam? Because Islam is going to bring you the type of peace that you really should have. And if you're not having that type of peace, then you need to question, you really need to sit down and have a serious conversation with yourself. So, of course, also tied into this is like speech and actions. What we talking about? What we doing? What type of discussions are we having? Right? Can you call up one of your Muslim brothers or one of your Muslim sisters and discuss the fiqh of salah? The fiqh of the sacred months, not necessarily fiqh of the madhabs, but fiqh from Quran and Sunnah, starting there. Can you call one of your Muslim brothers and one of your Muslim sisters and talk about tafsirs of ayat 18, surah 18, ayat number 50, which talks about Shaitan and his offspring? Can you call one of your Muslim brothers or one of your Muslim sisters and talk about the 5 sons or the 5 disciples or the 5 main members that do Shaitan work for them? Them Shayateens is 5 sons. Do you know their name? Do you know their jobs? Do you know what it is that they do? The one who affects your salah, right? The one who causes discourse between people in the marketplace or when doing business, or even if it's like you gambling and people get to fighting over gambling, and the one who breaks up marriages, right? The things that they do. Who can you call and really sit down and have a comprehensive conversations about not protecting your homes from the jinn? The type of conversations that we should be having, or is the most of our conversations, man, is about us complaining about stuff and we not doing nothing about it. When we calling people, that be the extent of our Muslim conversations. Oh man, the Muslims doing this, the community doing this, they don't have this, they won't do this, it's bid'ah, it's this and that. Like, what are we talking about? So, speeches and actions. What we saying and what we doing versus what we not saying and what we not doing. Are we effectively trying to make change? And all of these things come into protecting your Islam. Protecting your Islam. And see, one of the other things, the other second thing that I wanted to talk about was number 2. Back to the basics. going back to the basics. Going back to the basics. Because the companions and the righteous from amongst the Salaf, not all of them, but some of your very best ones, right? They will start to prepare for Ramadan 6 months in advance. Kind of like a garden. They will start to sow seeds. They're planting the seeds. And then by the time Ramadan comes, what the seeds they planted is bearing fruit. Then they will start to really tighten up 3 months coming into Ramadan, so that they can bear fruits. You understand, being on the right path by the time Ramadan starts. So Ramadan is in the 9th month, right? If you take 3 months to start protecting your Islam, okay, and going back and studying the basics, the foundations, of this deen. Take you 3 months and get them together, and then when that 6-month mark come in, really start going hard and preparing for Ramadan on this strong foundations. So when I was talking about the weak hadiths, this is what I want people to understand. You have hadiths that say the strong believer is better than the weak believer. A strong anything is better than a weak anything. Right? A strong foundation is better than a weak foundation. Okay? Jannah is not easy to achieve. Like it says, man, the pathway to Jannah is surrounded by hardships. So it's not an easy task. But the path to the hellfire is beautified. It's easy to go to Jahannam. It's easy to go to hell. It probably ain't nothing in life easier to do than go to hell. Okay? So when it comes to your deen, you should want your deen to be based off of the strongest evidence. The strongest evidence. Because strong evidence is better than what? Weak evidence. Okay? So when I'm talking about weak hadiths, and of course, everybody not going to get the gist of what I'm trying to put out there and what I'm working my way up to, right? Some people, some actions that people have in a deen never was supposed to see the light of the day in actions. Some of the things that people doing in their deen was there so you don't do it. It's recorded so you don't do it. So even if you want to take the position, well, it's weak hadith, it's weak athar, so it's still hadith, it's still athar. Why choose what's weak? over what's strong when you're trying to get into Jannah? Don't you want to be on the actions that's best? So, a part of this protecting your Islam, comb through your deen and make sure everything you're doing, not from the madhabs, make sure everything that you're doing, especially when it comes to ibadah, you have the strongest evidence for what you're doing. Now, if you find something that you're doing and the evidence is weak, then you definitely have to make sure there's no strong evidence that goes against it. And if you don't want to take the time out to do that, right? If shaitan make you kaslan jiddan, if shaitan make you very lazy when it comes to doing this, you don't want Jannah. You don't want Jannah. And see, the problem is, in order to do this, you might have to sacrifice one of these three things, or perhaps all three. You might have to sacrifice some of the people that you be around, even if it's your spouse. Not like saying get a divorce, but you might have to carve out some time that you may usually spend with them to figure out how to get to the strongest evidence for everything that you're doing. Especially with your 5 pillars. Your fasting, your salah, your zakah, right? And of course, hajj and shahada, but especially with keeping your shahada intact on both statements. You might have to sacrifice some of your environment. It might be some things in your home that you might have to clean up, right? When you understand the jinn, like even when it comes to even things that you should believe, like even when it comes to the jinn, right? You want to be up on the strongest evidence. We're not talking about from the madhab and some of these things that you're chasing. You might have to start chasing the deen, man. Like not only one person, but people ask me, how do you do it? How do you remain steadfast? Like, how do you keep reading the Quran? How do you keep reading that? And reading different books, and how do you keep yourself up? See, one thing about me, alhamdulillah, man, I thank Allah Azza wa Jal, I'm always in some type of classes, and I really want to pass. So I have to read. You know what I'm saying? To the point where it's a hobby. See, when it comes to people trying to get some degrees or a trade, things that's going to lead to more money, things that's going to lead to what they consider to be status and achievements, whether they're going to learn how to weld or whatever type of trades that they can learn, pipe fitting, and they chasing money. They're going to do what they got to do to learn it. They're not going to try to wing it. They're not going to try to be on a hope and a prayer, whether they in college, whether they in high school. I'm not going to just sit here and be like, I want to achieve this college degree, whether it's an associate's, whether it's a bachelor's, master's, PhD, whether it's accelerated, whether it's a not accelerated, CNA nursing. You're not going to just sit down and be like, well, I believe I could be a CNA, so I'm going to be one. No, you're going to go learn how to be a CNA, even if you cheat your way through it and start to do the work. You're going to put the work in. But when it comes to Islam, shaitan make people kaslan. They make them so lazy, they can't even put in 10% of the effort of the things chasing the deen and chasing Islamic knowledge that they could put forth to chasing the dunya. because they want things, man. They want to impress people. They want to frequent places, man, where they feel like people, prominent, stand up people in the dunya. And not saying you can't have none of those things, but for me, the classes that I take, they involve Islam. It don't lead to no money, right? But it leads to me protecting my Islam, man. It leads to me at least having a type of understanding of what it takes to get into Jannah. So I'm chasing it. I'm chasing it. And I thank Allah for that. That Allah put me on that type of khair. Do it guarantee me Jannah? No. So this is just some of the things, man, people need to refocus their energy coming into the new year, man. Because I'm seeing so many people, they deen, man, is handling them. Some people, man, they don't even like Islam because it get in the way of their dunya. Why do I have to keep praying every day? Why do I have to fast? Why I can't drink? Why I can't smoke? Why I can't involve myself in pagan holidays? See, these things is hardships to them. Then you got all these Muslims, man, who new to the deen, and they really wasn't, before Islam, they really wasn't really your brightest people. I'm not trying to knock people. I'm just being honest. They really wasn't your brightest people in society. Like, they wasn't like your brightest minds. They wasn't like all in the deep in the college and sciences and this and that. They was your regular little running around the street smoking and drinking. Not saying they dumb, but they wasn't your brightest minds. And now they accepting Islam, and now they making TikTok and videos and Instagram reels, and they want to try to talk about Islam. And every time somebody try to correct them, oh, who is you to tell me how to interpret Islam? And they coming up, and then they try to use a Quran ayat that they just truly don't understand. And it's starting to become more and more of them. It's starting to become more and more of them. And then you had these, they want to go debate the Hebrew Israelites. They want to go debate in speaker corners. And although when you go look at the deen, where it says, don't be doing a debate and don't be going back and forth with them people. Because one, even when you look at your Quran ayahs, like, you might say something to them and now they start to insult Allah because they don't know no better. Or they start to insult Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But then, like I say, the ones who sitting up there trying to debate and do all this for, not from a dawah point, where people come into the Muslim places where they giving dawah and they trying to have an intellectual conversation with these people to get them to understand Islam. That's different. But you have these individuals who, they be derelicts, man. You don't have the scholars going and doing these debates. You don't have these students of knowledge going and do these debates. You have these individuals who still out there smoking, girlfriends, fornicating, pill popping, lightweight hippie-ish, trying to debate for Islam. So I'm saying that to say they starting to get a little leeway, man, and they starting to influence the Muslims. Because you have Muslims that's so confused, man. You have a lot of confused Muslims, man, and they tired because they trying to protect their peace, but they not protecting their Islam. And then some of the things that they have in their deen is based off of weak evidence that's out there for the purposes of you don't fall into it. So, like I'm gonna say this. I made it known that I'm studying Hanbali Fiqh from beginning to end. Okay. Yesterday I took. Let me see. I don't want to mistake it. Wallahi, I took like 4 to 5 quizzes yesterday. Do y'all know that on the quiz that they have in Hanbali Fiqh, do you know that they say Dhuhr is the first prayer for the day? Now I can understand the Maghrib Fajr debate based off of the middle prayer and this and that, but Dhuhr, and then what they cite as evidence, because when you go through the hadiths, when you look at certain hadiths, when it comes to the time of the prayers, Dhuhr was the first one they talked about. So that makes Dhuhr the first prayer of the day. But then when it comes to the Quran ayat, and guarding the middle prayer, with accordance with hadith and the two positions, the original one, then the one that possibly changed, but both of them still tie in, none of that aligns up with Dhuhr being the first prayer. You know what I'm saying? But and I'm saying that to say, you know, a lot of people, man, have some weakness in their deen, man, and it may be put there by madhabs or schools of thoughts. I know Dhuhr is not the first prayer of the day. I know what they using as evidence is not the first. That ain't even evidence. You know what I'm saying? But and it's a lot of things in it like that. And now I'm starting to understand. I'm truly starting to understand why when people get to a certain level of, like, students, they don't really talk to people about the fiqh of the madhabs and the stuff that's in it. And they be real sophisticated in saying what the scholars say, or some scholars, or they differ, but they don't really tell people some of the things that I tell people. And let me see what his name is again. I want to see if anybody know him. If anybody familiar with him, put his, say in the comments or something. I know. Doc Keek, let me pause it for 1 second while I pull up his name. I don't want to waste too much time. Doc Keek. Alhamdulillah. His name is Sheikh Mansour Saud. He a Hanbali scholar from Boreida, right? In Saudi. So he's a Hanbali scholar. So one of the brothers, man, that I deal with, he go to the university in Mecca, right? And he got a thing Saturday on the 28th where we gonna have a sitting, and we going over actually one of the books that I'm studying with in Hanbali Fiqh, and they considered it to be a primer. So anyway, starting at 5:30 a.m. my time, right? 5:30 a.m. and it lasts for 6 hours. So that's 5:30 up to around like 11, something like that. But anyway, the Sheikh is gonna be there. Sheikh Mansour Saud. I'm not really familiar with him. I heard a few little snippet things from him, and but I don't really know him. But I almost don't want to go. I almost don't even, wallahi, like I'm debating if I want to do it or not. Because yesterday, seeing the way the students, with the tests and stuff that we had yesterday, and seeing how it confused some of the Muslims is new. So they've coming into a madhab because they've been taught you need to go get into a madhab, choose a madhab and learn a madhab, and that's the only way you're gonna learn your religion. So they're not really familiar with hadiths, but they're not young, some of them 20, 30, you know what I'm saying? It's like almost 200 students in our class, right? I think we started off with, no. By the time we started off, I don't know. But anyway, it ain't, we started off with a large amount, but a lot of people done fell off due to this. So anyway, just to seeing some of the questions they was asking about their tests and their exams, like, this gotta be a mistake. Wallahi. And the confusion, wallahi, I sat up and said to myself, now I understand why the people I knew they was Hanafis, right? I understand why they saying going and studying hadiths will confuse you. But it's not the studying of the hadiths that's going to confuse you. They're going to bring the clarity, which is going to confuse you because you've been taught through a madhab particular things, and it either has weak evidence that never should have seen the light of the day, okay, or there's no dalil for it at all. This is just how they felt. And they was baffled. And then with the struggle with me, I know Dhuhr ain't no first prayer of the day. But I have to sit there and while we taking the exam and say, do I want to mark this way just to pass this class? But my point is, I feel like some of the stuff that I'm learning is not beneficial. It's only making my mind say, like, sitting down being taught, man, that Dhuhr is the first prayer of the day when it's not. And then especially saying, because when the hadiths start, when you look at the section of hadiths on the times of prayer, the way Dhuhr was the first one that it talked about. So that make it the first prayer of the day. But but I'm gonna go listen to this scholar, man, because at this point I'm starting to question. I can't question the teacher because I'm looking at it in the books. But then I know that everybody in this school of thought don't agree. So I really want to sit down and listen to this scholar, man, just to see like how I feel like I could switch my sciences, man. I feel like I could switch my sciences, man, because, and I'm telling you, man, I'm learning a lot of stuff like that, like even like I said in the video, praying 4 rakats, and I think it did confuse some people because they think I'm saying just praying 4 rakats only, because they didn't listen to the video before it. I wasn't saying praying 4 rakats during Ramadan, during Taraweeh, just 4 rakats alone. No, doing them in sets of 4. Do 4 rest, for rest. You know what I'm saying? But saying that invalidates your prayer, and I know that's not right. So it's like I'm not learning beneficial knowledge. You know, I am learning, like, okay, I see what they had evidence for. I see what they didn't. I understand why this position is there. And like even with, and then I can see why they fight. Okay? Like for instance, the Hanafis have, for Asr prayer, they have that the time for Asr comes in when the length of an object, the shadow is double the length of that object minus the zenith, right, from the sun. The Hanbali say when the length of an object and the shadow is double, the time for Asr is gone. So y'all praying Asr at a time that Asr is over with. So I could see why they argue. Because one canceling out, y'all praying at a time when it's not permissible to pray Asr. So I could see why they into it. But then when a person don't know hadiths, or they don't go through hadiths, just like for instance, the reason why they making it mandatory that you pray when the shadow of an object is double the length is because y'all don't have the authentic hadiths. Now during a time, because of desert heat, yeah, you can delay Asr, but to make that the permanent standard for this is what time we pray Asr, y'all really making people miss that blessing that you get for praying when Salat comes in at its earliest time. But then going in and looking at, like with this one, for the ones who feel like Asr is that middle prayer and you should guard it, y'all taking people out of that. But if you feel like Dhuhr is the first prayer, you're not going to view Asr as a middle prayer. So they really taking a blessing away that people can get from praying at the times when a prayer comes in. Okay? So I see why they fight, because some madhabs actually cancel out what the other one is doing. But then they just say to people who don't really understand, because they don't want them arguing and fighting, they say stuff like this: oh, well, they differ, the scholars this, the scholars that. Do you want strong or the strongest evidence, or weak evidence and evidence that really wasn't even supposed to see the light of day in actions? You have to ask yourself that, man. You have to ask yourself that. And now, one thing that I learned from this, which I've been stopped doing, I'm not going to debate with people, man. It really done put me in a position where, hey, whatever you doing, it just almost, and that's why I be seeing like some students and graduates where they had that position. Sometimes you just got to leave people where they at, because like how I always say, some people not ready for new information, man. And that's something I came up with on my own throughout my journeys. Some people not ready for new information. So, you know, just be like they say, man, like what the Rasul had to do. Just relay the message sincerely with your best intentions and leave it in the hands of Allah. You know, because I'm honestly, but I knew I was gonna have this issue before I started, but it's worse than what I thought it was gonna be. And I'm seeing how it's actually confusing people in the classroom, because they like, yo, make this make sense for me. Give me some ID. Give me something. Not just me. I'm not saying make it make sense. In my head, I'm saying this go against all the hadiths that I've read. So I'm viewing it from a different point. I didn't know all this. I didn't know all this stuff was in there like this. I didn't. Like I said, man, I didn't know that they, made du'as, the dead people and all that type of stuff, or threw them however they want to. I didn't know all that was in there. And none of them. I didn't know Ibn Taymiyyah had some of these positions. So I'm learning some of this stuff, but it ain't like. But when you dealing with a teacher who went through this process and they just a madhahib, like what's in the madhab, everything that in it is a go. So I'm sitting down saying, so when you like, you can't take some students, right, where they've been praying 4 rakats for Taraweeh since they was a little kid, and then bring them into the madhab and say, you got to pray 2. You got to do them in sets of 2s, and doing sets of 4 is makruh, or it invalidates your Taraweeh prayer with no explanation. They just like, wait a minute, and then say this is the prayer of the Rasul during the night prayer. Yeah, but that's the night prayer outside of Ramadan. And that's why I say, alhamdulillah, I'm glad I know the hadiths, so I'm not having that difficulty. So now you have individuals like, okay, I need to go talk to my imam. But see, the worst of what happens, and I'm glad I'll get to put this in, the worst of what happens is somebody come learn something, they see something that's in this Hanbali fiqh, and we doing comparative. We still in the stage where we doing comparative, right? And then they go to the masjid and try to check the imam. Why are you leading us when Ramadan come? Why are you leading us in 4 rakats a Taraweeh, you imbecile? This masjid is off it. Okay? Because they still a new student, but I'm learning this fiqh. Why are y'all continuing to pray when the shadow is double and the time for answer is already out? Y'all answer prayers invalid, you imbecile. You bid'ah creators. Your whole masjid off it. And I'm sitting up saying some of this is what's happening. Some of this is what's happening, man. I personally know of a couple of students, because now I'm learning the science, I'm learning fiqh of the madhab, right? But like I said, I noticed the rules of fiqh, we're not learning none of that. Whether it's going to come at a later date, I don't know. But we didn't start with it. We don't discuss it, and there's not no dalil, right? Even with, like I said, I ordered all the books for my syllabus for a couple of years, and I go through them, and then some of them I already had, right? They don't be having no Dalil in them. So like, even with the one we doing, I read the whole book. I had enough time to read the whole book before class started, so that I could focus on the class while they going over the book. And I said maybe they gonna fill in the Dalil parts when we get into the class. But this a real universe. Like, this is official. This ain't like I said. This the real deal. And I'm like, man, it ain't no Dalil. But then when it is Dalil, it's like, that ain't the Dalil for that. And like I said, man, some people, they hearing things in this class, right? And then they go on it. The first thing they do, they go arguing with people, man, calling people out of their name, not knowing where the information come from. Just like how I say with a particular set of individuals, y'all calling these people all these things, right? Not realizing now you got to call Ibn Taymiyyah that. Now you got to call Imam Ahmed, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, Imam Hanifa, and a whole list of other scholars that you consider to be valid. And that's why I thank Allah, man. I thank Allah, because that could end up being me. And just throughout my journeys, like even before I started taking this, people who watch my videos, I've been saying, like, traveling, that's why I don't be driving down on people. I just know what to look for. Okay, if I come in here and they doing this, and this, it's a chance they Maliki. Or they doing this and that. Just like some people, this is some, like, a lot of people don't know this. Some people think that people who don't want to line up with them, shoulder to shoulder, feet to feet, some people think people don't want to do it because I'm a black American. Oh, they don't like black Americans. They don't want our feet touching their feet. They don't want our shoulder touching their shoulder. And this is something I never spoke of. But some people don't know particular madhabs teach against that. Yeah. Certain madhabs teach that you're not supposed to be feet to feet, shoulder to shoulder. Yeah. Regardless to what the Rasul said about it. So sometimes they doing it because that's what they was taught. Not because you black, or they may be black also, but they may be from Africa. You know what I'm saying? They may be from the Sudan or Mauritania, Egypt somewhere. They might be from a particular madhab, which I ain't gonna call the name out, because I know of one for sure. But now that I'm getting deeper and deeper into it, all of them might say that. Well, maybe 2 or 3 of them. But some people don't know that. And you know, I never say nothing, but I learned that years ago. So I never argued or debated with people. I just left it alone, man. And now more and more, it's almost like, man, it's just time to leave people where they are, man. And I'm telling you, man, I know of 2 students. Man, who learned some stuff in that class, and immediately when they started arguing with people in their community, and not necessarily their community, but communities that they refuse to go to, you know. So it could be dangerous, man. And then you don't even know if that knowledge is what you're learning is correct. So I'm gonna close on that, man. Go find you some strong evidence for what you're doing, man. Strong evidence is always better than weak evidence. Okay, I mean that's really just common sense, man, for real. And learn to protect your Islam. Protect your Islam, and your peace will be protected. You just gonna have to understand, man. You might have to sacrifice a lot of things, man. Like seriously, man. Cause I'm telling you, man, and people just listening to all type of people and don't really know what's to them. Don't know if it's mad ass stuff because you like them, because they may be nice. And I'm gonna say this: what they be saying will come from somewhere, but it might not be what you should act upon. But to them, it's the best thing since sliced bread because it's all they've been taught. So you have people just who have a whole bunch of different beliefs. They listening to little reels from Sufis, you know, Shiites, Maturidi's, Salafis, the wrong type of Salafis, the wrong type of Asheris. You know, they just listening to anything, man. But they don't have no foundation to throw it up against. They not sound and not trying to be sound in hadith and tafsirs. So they just all over the place, man, and they confused. But they ibadah is not growing. Like right now, two situations. With me, when I know two Muslims is in a bad situation, and let's say they met and they started fornicating, they're already in it. Generally, before, if they came to me to get married, right, I would do the nikah to get that fornication up off of them, to help them rectify that affair. I had a situation, man, where some people wanted me to marry them. Not only did I not do it, I didn't want to. Never felt that way before. Because of all the conniving and all the slickery and snakery. It's a lot of snake stuff going on behind this, man. It's real dunya driven. So, and then another situation where a couple, they looked the part, and I'm talking to them, and the sister. So because I'm familiar with this hadith, where this was during the time of muta marriages, though, right? So you had an older gentleman and a younger gentleman. So the woman that they wanted to marry, muta marriage though, but she basically was weighing them out like, which one of y'all got the most? Who's going to give me the biggest gift? Who's going to give me the most of the gift? So I lay up with them for this little temporary marriage. And the Rasul watched this situation. And the Rasul advised, don't marry no woman like this. And I really want to look at the hadith again, because I think he also said, if anybody is married to a woman like this, divorce them. Playing the highest bidder, who can I get the most out of type of a game. So the sister is like, and I know it's because of social media, because you have all these women, man, who's single, and they getting their money up, and they trying to make like all these vacations and all these trips is a flex. Okay. They trying to make like all this is a flex, right? So now, and I'm gonna keep it 100. Even with some Muslims, man, I know Muslims who done got their money up, worked all type of hours, spent 3,000-4,000 in plane tickets and getting accessories, you know, and where they stand and accommodations, and get over there and be scared, be bored, not really doing nothing, you know, but they can take some pictures and put on social media. Oh, I'm in this area, I'm in this where I'm sitting by the water, but they're really not doing nothing. And then when they get back home, bill time is due, and now they mad because they can't get no dude to marry them because they facing eviction. Like, wallahi, real stuff, man. Facing evictions and all this, but they done wasted money on trying to go to Egypt and be by pyramids, and you know, it's alhamdulillah. So now the new thing is, if a man ain't gonna be taking them on vacations once a month, we ain't going to Egypt, we ain't gonna be going to Dubai, we ain't going to a remote village in Thailand, if we ain't traveling 5 times a year overseas, I'm not marrying them. You know? But when it comes to the Islamic thing and all that, that's these places and things is, I'm protecting my peace. I ain't having it no other way. My peace isn't going to be interrupted. But they're not protecting their Islam. They're not protecting their Islam. And then what'll happen is, a brother who see that, who may not be all that good of a brother, and be like, okay, you think I'm stupid, you want a fool, you marrying wallets. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we'll do vacations. I'm gonna put me some vacation time in. And like seriously, I had to sit down and explain this. But then, yeah, we'll do all that. And then they come into play, start having sex with you and this and that, and then they get up out of the marriage. I don't really like you. You a user. I want to enjoy your company. And then they get out of the marriage, and then the woman is like, men dogs. He was trying to use the brother, and he beat you to the punch. Like, I literally had to explain to a sister, do you think anybody with a hard-working job can take a week-long or 4 or 5 day long vacation every month? Now, you have some people who, if they up there in their jobs, some people might have 3 weeks worth of vacation. Some people have a week vacation, 2 weeks vacation. Have you ever even looked to see how much vacation time they got? Then if they put in sick time or other little stuff that they can use, but they don't get paid for it. So now they got to spend all this money to take, you going by yourself was $3,000. So both of y'all together pushing it at 5. Now he's taking off work or making up lies to take off work. Now he got to come back to a short check and still pay your bills and get you purses and shoes, a whole bunch of stuff to sit in the closet. Just for you to be like, take me out to eat, I don't feel like cooking. They don't think into that, man. So like I said, another situation is just like, if we ain't doing vacations, like this real sit down questions. We gonna be able to travel? You gonna take me on a vacation every month? We gonna go overseas once a month? I be needing to get away because your life so full of depression because of your environment and because what you got going on. Now you want somebody else to take their money and do all this other stuff, and you doing all this traveling, you doing all this and that, and still not happy. You still depressed, you still going through it, but you talking about you protecting your peace, but you're not protecting your Islam. I had to just step in and say, nope. Brother, I'm not going to let you marry this sister. And I'm going to walk here in front of her. Nope, I ain't going to let this happen. I done told you 1,000 times. Oh, you got blocking, I'll get somebody this and that. And then the brother said, I'm going to be honest with you. I was just letting you talk. I wasn't going to agree or disagree. Like, that's just something I'm not interested in. Like, if I sit down and say to you, if I say, look, I want you to pray tahajjud with me every night. I want you going to me with the masjid, doing this and doing that. I want you to take these classes and learn this Arabic and do this stuff with me. You know what the sister said? No, I wouldn't agree because that's too much. I want to do it on my own. I feel like you forcing me. That's too much like trying to be controlling. But you talking about somebody got to take you on vacation once a month and do all this other type of stuff, that's not trying to be controlling also? If the brother say, well, you know, yeah, we could do some vacations, but I want to do it on my time. I want to do it when I feel like it. I don't want to feel like I'm being forced to do it. That's not acceptable to you. But when you said you wanted to be accepted, and this is the reason why you're not married, man. Brothers keep turning you down. And then when she turning somebody down, it be stuff like, not because he was a bad person or not because he was going to mistreat her. That's too bare minimum. That's too bare minimum. Because, like I'm saying, no vacation once a month is on the table. But anyway, man, I ain't finna get into that, man. Let me get off of here, man. Man, protect your Islam, man. Protect your Islam. Go back to the basics, to the foundations of the deen, ibadah, right? And stop beefing with individuals because y'all Aqidah ain't 100% lined up. Them people ibadah may be better than yours. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just gotta let people be, man, and let Muslims be Muslims and learn to love one another, man. You know what I'm saying? Amongst differences. You know? And because some people have a misconception that some people never had differences in Aqidah, but that just shows their level of education. And I seen, you know, I ain't gonna get into that. But man, it's just time to be careful, man. And it's time, man, it's time to sit down and find the real you again. Quit letting this social media stuff, man, influence you. You know, all this other stuff, man, sisters really trying to, you know, like it just ain't working for them. It just ain't working for them, man, and it's just unfortunate, man. Brothers, find the real you. Learn you some real deen, man, and go find the strongest evidence for everything that you're doing, man, because that increase your chances, man. A strong believer is better than a weak believer. How strong are you, and you up on a whole bunch of weak things that never should have made it to the light of day, but you don't have the heart to give it up because you talking about this imam said it when the Rasul said something entirely different. And Quran say something entirely different. You know. But anyway, man, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.